Alex closed the YouTube video halfway through a sentence. The frame froze on a woman mid-eye roll, studio lights flattening her face into something unreal. Below her, the podcast host leaned forward, smirking, ready to explain, again, why women were delusional, why their standards were impossible, why reality would correct them eventually. Alex exhaled through his nose and locked his phone. It was always the same loop. Ask women to describe the ideal man, laugh when they did, reduce desire to height, money, dominance. Nothing about actual relationships. Nothing about marriages that lasted. Nothing about men who were decent and still wanted, desired, even. So what was the conclusion supposed to be? That goodness was unattractive? That character was a handicap? That the only way in was to become cruel, entitled, hollow? Did he really have to join a gang, emotional or literal, and treat women like disposable objects just to be seen? He lay back on his bed, staring at the ceiling fan as it rotated lazily, casting slow shadows like second hands refusing to move. The thought settled heavy in his chest. Is this even possible? After a moment, he swung his legs over the edge of the bed. I need air, he muttered to no one. The evening was cool, that soft hour where the sun hadn't fully surrendered yet. Alex wandered without direction, hands in his pockets, shoulders slightly hunched the way they always were when his mind was loud. That's when he saw her. Late 20s, maybe early 30s. Attractive, but not in a loud way. Calm. She was walking a medium-sized dog, some kind of retriever mix, tail wagging, tongue lolling, radiating uncomplicated joy. The dog noticed Alex first and tugged slightly on the leash. Alex smiled despite himself. I could ask to pet the dog, he thought. Say something normal. Ask her name. Maybe suggest coffee. A walk in the park. The scene played out in his head in brutal clarity. Her polite smile tightening. Her laugh, not cruel, just dismissive. The unspoken thought, why would you think you have a chance? His stomach tightened. Without breaking stride, he crossed the street. Didn't look back. He walked past a long brick wall plastered with flyers, layered, torn, stapled over one another like geological strata of forgotten intentions. Live music, yoga retreats, crypto meetups, spiritual awakenings, half spelled wrong. Ridiculous these still exist, he murmured. It's not 2006, he thought. Then one line stopped him cold. No ladies? Try philosophy. Maybe you are lacking character. Alex stared. What the hell? He pulled out his phone and snapped a picture. Just for a giggle, he told himself, though his pulse had picked up. At that exact moment, movement caught his eye. Across the street, on the opposite sidewalk, the woman from before walked past again, the dog trotting happily beside her, unaware of the strange symmetry of it all. She didn't see him. Or maybe she did. Alex stood there, phone in hand, heart unsettled, as if something had nudged the universe an inch off alignment. The address on the flyer led him to a quiet building. Nothing impressive. No sign. No branding. Just a door. He hesitated. Then knocked. The door opened. A woman stood there, pretty, composed, warm in a way that wasn't performative. The kind of beauty that came from being at ease with herself. She smiled. You must be Alex, she said. Before he could respond, she stepped aside. My husband will be right with you. Alex swallowed and stepped inside. The door closed softly behind him. The space inside was warmer than he expected, dim, grounded, real. Shelves of books lined the walls, not decorative but worn, lived in. Philosophy, psychology, theology. A desk dominated the room, large, wooden, scarred with use. Solid, unapologetic. Behind it sat a man. He was typing intensely, posture forward, fingers striking the keyboard with purpose, as if each word mattered. The screen glowed faintly against his face, jaw set, eyes sharp but calm. Not rushed. Focused. Alex stood still, suddenly aware of his own breathing. Jacob finished a sentence, paused, then looked up. For a brief second, his eyes assessed Alex, not judging, just seeing. Then Jacob stood, the chair scraping lightly against the floor, and walked around the desk. He extended his hand. "Hi, Alex," he said evenly. "Nice to meet you." Alex shook it. The grip was firm, steady, not performative, real. "Would you like something to drink?" "Oh yeah, just a glass of water," Alex replied. Jacob nodded once. "Of course." They sat at the table near the window. The room felt anchored, like time moved differently here. A moment later, the woman from before, Jacob's wife, entered carrying a glass of water and a black coffee. She placed the water in front of Alex, then the coffee beside Jacob. Alex noticed it immediately. She radiated something: ease, affection, quiet joy. Not exaggerated, not forced, just present. Jacob looked up at her, his expression softening in a way Alex hadn't seen in a long time. Not weakness, intimacy. "Thank you, my beautiful wife," Jacob said simply. She smiled, and Alex could have sworn she let out a small giggle as she turned away, almost skipping back toward a desk in the corner. Alex blinked. Was she the secretary? The thought felt absurd and oddly grounding at the same time. Not staged, not ironic, just two people who clearly loved each other, existing naturally in the same space, building something together. Jacob took a sip of his coffee and looked back at Alex. "So Alex," he said calmly, folding his hands, "what brings you here?" Alex wrapped his fingers around the glass of water, feeling its coolness, and for the first time that evening, he didn't feel invisible. Alex leaned forward, hands clasped, eyes drifting to the floor before rising. The deepest hurt. It's not even the loneliness itself, though that's bad enough. It's this feeling like, maybe the universe is telling me that being good, really trying to be decent, considerate, honest, isn't wanted. Like kindness is a flaw in the mating game. At 2 a.m., the thought that keeps stabbing is, if I stay who I am, no one will ever choose me. Not really choose me. They'll settle for me at best, or use me as an emotional tampon until someone exciting shows up. And then the flip side hits even harder. But if I become one of those guys, the teasing, the games, the I don't give a fuck attitude, then I'm not me anymore. I'd be pretending to be someone I don't even like. I'd hate looking in the mirror. So the fear underneath it all is that there's no path where I get to keep my soul and be desired. That authenticity and attraction are enemies. That the world rewards performance and punishes character. And if that's true, then what's the point of trying to be a good man? It feels like a cosmic joke. Like virtue is beautiful in theory, but in practice, it's a romantic death sentence. That's the part that really burns. Not just wanting sex or a girlfriend. Wanting to feel like who I am is enough, or at least not a disqualification. Does that make sense? Or am I just whining? Jacob asked, "What if a good man is rewarded and you just don't have a clear idea of what a good man actually is? Why don't you describe what makes a man good and what makes a man attractive?" Alex exhaled through a faint, self-aware smile. "Yeah, maybe I've been worshiping the nice, harmless boy version of good and calling it virtue. To me, good means honest, doesn't hurt people, keeps promises, tries to be fair. Attractive seems more like sure of himself, takes up space, can tease, decides things, wants her openly without begging, leads without apology. I'm scared that if I add any of that edge, I'll turn into an asshole. But maybe I'm just scared to want things strongly and say it out loud. Does that gap have to exist? Or am I the one making it huge?" Jacob folded his hands, voice probing but steady. As a child, when you wanted something, not necessarily a new thing, but to do something, how did the people around you respond to you? How did you feel about expressing your desires? Alex's gaze drifted somewhere distant, memory pulling him back. As a kid, I wanted stuff, sure. Like, can we go to the park? Or can I stay up later? or wanting to play a game instead of homework. Most times my parents were kind but firm. They'd listen, explain why not if it didn't fit, rules, bedtime, whatever, and that was that. No big drama, no yelling. But I learned quick that asking too much or too often got a gentle no, or maybe later, that usually meant no. I remember feeling careful, like expressing what I really wanted was risky. It could disappoint them or make me seem selfish. So I started toning it down. I'd hint instead of ask straight, or just not ask at all if I thought the answer would be no. It felt safer to be low needs, easygoing. But there was this quiet ache, like wanting something strong was bad, or at least inconvenient for everyone else. I got really good at reading the room and putting others first before I even knew what I was doing. Even now, when I think about telling a woman what I want, date, kiss, whatever, it feels like that same kid voice whispering, "Don't be too much. You'll ruin it." That's probably why that "just say what you want" advice feels impossible. It doesn't feel brave. It feels like breaking an old rule I never questioned. Jacob leaned back slightly, observing. It seems like you need to practice expressing your desires. Like you have forgotten or never learned that nobody owes anything to anyone, not the world to you nor you to the world. That being said, there is this thing called will, which guides people to volunteer or restrict their actions. When was the last time you let yourself indulge in something that wasn't essential, or at least express the desire to do so? Alex shifted in his chair, caught but honest. Last time I really let myself indulge? Probably a couple months ago. I had this random urge to buy a new acoustic guitar. Nothing fancy, just something decent to play around with late at night when I couldn't sleep. I'd been eyeing one online for weeks, but kept telling myself it was stupid. I already have one that's good enough. Money's better saved. What if I never play it seriously? All the usual reasons. In the end, I did buy it. Played it for like 3 nights straight. Felt alive in a way I hadn't in months. Then the guilt crept in. I should have spent that on something useful, and it's been sitting mostly untouched since. Expressing the desire out loud? Even rarer. I don't think I've straight up told anyone, "Hey, I want to do this just because it feels good," without justifying it first. Not even to friends. It always comes with a disclaimer, but it's not a big deal if we don't. Or only if it's convenient. You're right. It's like I've internalized that wanting something strongly is imposing or selfish, unless I can prove it's deserved. Nobody owes me the guitar, or the time, or the yes from a woman. But I also don't owe the world constant self-denial. I guess the will thing. I let it guide me in small, safe ways. Big desires? They get vetoed before they even hit my mouth. Jacob spoke plainly, without hesitation. Is you feeling alive and enjoying yourself not something useful? Because one of the leading causes of suicide is a prolonged absence of joy. I don't know. I'm glad you bow the guitar. Alex blinked, something loosening in his chest. Yeah, when you put it like that, it sounds almost ridiculous that I felt guilty about a guitar. Feeling alive, enjoying myself, even for 3 nights, isn't just nice to have. It's necessary, like oxygen. I've read about that, how joy protects against despair, how chronic anhedonia is a straight path to the edge. And here I am, treating my own sparks of pleasure like luxury items I have to earn or apologize for. I'm glad I bought it too. Hearing you say that makes me feel a bit less stupid for wanting it. Maybe that's the first crack, letting myself have joy without a permission slip from the world. Not as a reward for being good, but because I'm alive and it feels good. Does that mean I should start looking for more of those small indulgences? Or is there a bigger shift here? Like giving myself permission to want bigger things, like connection, without the old "don't be too much" voice kicking in. Jacob's tone sharpened, precise. I'm not gonna lie, the issue is deep. Because what women crave in men is not flamboyant bad boy behavior that hurts people. What they crave has to do with the capacity to choose to hurt people. Sacrifice them at the altar of what they believe is the right thing at that moment. But not all women make that distinction consciously, or at all. All their subconscious knows is that high-status men give more orders than they follow, and the asshole appears to be a man that is genetically prone to achieve orders giving, high status. The thing is, to be able to sacrifice people's feelings, opinions, or desires, you need to have desires of your own. But for those desires to be productive, they need to be convictions. Only an actively good man can appeal to female hypergamy. Alex absorbed it slowly, unsettled but alert. Whoa, that's sharp. Yeah, the capacity to choose hurt, not out of cruelty, but for a conviction. Like a leader who says no to protect the bigger picture. That makes sense why assholes fake it well. But for me, having strong desires, convictions, I do have them. Tech ethics, helping friends, but I soften them to not step on toes. Maybe that's why I feel low status. An actively good man, sacrificing for what's right, not just avoiding bad. How do I build that without turning cold? Or is the cold part a myth? Jacob nodded once. A leader needs to be strong of character, and developing strength of character often manifests as being cold. Like Batman, he is good, but dark. That's the stoic aspect of a high-value man. Those faceless YouTube channels miss the point and end up making people think that stoicism is equal to manhood. But the fact that every high-value man is stoic, not every stoic is a high-value man. Alex leaned forward, eyes sharper now. Batman. That clicks. He's not cold because he's numb. He's cold when he has to be. He chooses restraint, darkness, even isolation, to protect what matters. But underneath, he's driven by something fierce. Justice, loyalty, not letting the world break him. That's not passive nice guy goodness. It's active, almost ruthless in service of a higher good. I think that's what I've been missing. I've been equating strength of character with being endlessly accommodating, never rocking the boat, never saying no hard, never letting anyone feel my edges. But real character strength looks more like, I have boundaries sharp enough to cut if needed. I can disappoint people. I can walk away. I can prioritize my mission over comfort or approval. And the stoic part, you're right. Every high-value man I admire has that stoic core, control over impulses, endurance, clarity in chaos. But not every stoic is high value. Some stoics are just withdrawn, passive, hiding behind detachment because they're afraid to want or fight for anything. That's not manhood. That's avoidance dressed as virtue. So maybe developing that dark strength isn't about becoming an asshole. It's about letting myself feel the full range, anger, desire, grief, and then choosing what to do with it instead of smothering it. Like Batman, he feels the rage at his parents' murder every day, but he channels it into something purposeful, not destructive. I've spent so long trying to be the light version of good that I've forgotten the shadow is part of what makes the light matter. Without the capacity for darkness, goodness feels thin, harmless, unattractive. Does that mean I need to start practicing being cold in small ways? Like saying no without explaining myself to death, or pursuing what I want even if it risks rejection or disapproval? Where do I even begin without feeling like I'm faking it? Jacob's gaze stayed steady. Do you have a sacred time and space that no one can enter? It could be a specific time of the weekend, a scheduled gym session, something that you would say no to someone for? Alex swallowed, then answered honestly. No, honestly, I don't. Not really. I mean, I have routines. Saturday mornings I usually code personal projects or read for a few hours. Gym 3 times a week in the evenings. But if a friend texts, hey, can you help me move? Or want to grab coffee? I'd probably say yes, even if it means dropping what I'm doing. I tell myself it's being a good friend, but yeah, I almost never say no without a really solid reason. Even my me time feels negotiable. Like it's not sacred. It's just whatever's left after everyone else's needs. I've never had a non-negotiable block where I'd flat out say, no, this hour is mine, no exceptions. Not even for sleep sometimes. I'll stay up late replying to messages. I feel exposed saying that out loud. Like I don't have any real boundaries that matter. No fortress, no locked door, just open doors everywhere. Is that part of why the capacity to choose hurt feels so far away? Because I've never practiced choosing my own thing over someone else's comfort? What would a sacred time even look like for someone like me? Does it have to start small, or is it all or nothing? Jacob pressed gently. If you had to pick a reason, what would you say no to helping a friend move for? Alex considered carefully, then nodded. If it was during my Saturday morning coding block, the one where I shut the door, put on headphones, and lose myself in building something personal, I'd say no. That's the closest thing I have to sacred right now. But imagining it, it feels scary, but also kind of powerful. Like claiming a piece of territory that's mine. Would that count as a start? Or does it need to be bigger to build real strength? Jacob followed up. Is that Saturday coding block a personal endeavor? Are you building something big or many small things? What things? Alex smiled, more himself now. Yeah, it's personal. Not work stuff. My job's fine, but this is mine. Mostly small to medium things right now. I'm tinkering with a few projects. One's a little web app for tracking personal habits and moods in a way that feels more philosophical than gamified. Kind of like journaling meets stoic reflection, with prompts based on Marcus Aurelius quotes or whatever I'm reading. Another is a simple AI-assisted note-taking tool that summarizes my ramblings into clearer arguments. I use it to organize thoughts for, well, stuff like this conversation, actually. And lately I've been messing with a Python script that generates random, daily virtue challenges pulled from different philosophers. Helps me practice the active good man thing we're talking about. Nothing huge yet, no viral startup dreams. Just building pieces that help me think clearer, live better, maybe share later if they turn into something. The Saturday block is sacred because it's the one time I let myself chase curiosity without apologizing for it. No client deadlines, no friend favors, just me and the code and the ideas. Saying no to a move during that, it still feels big. But talking about it now, it feels less like selfishness and more like protecting the part of me that actually creates. Jacob spoke with quiet certainty. Good. That is essential for developing a higher purpose. And it is that higher purpose that serves a good high-value man to lead a good life. Women, high-value women recognize this. My wife has been with me since way before I knew I was going to be a philosophical counselor. All I had for a decade was a book I was writing. I had to disappoint many people throughout that time, but she believed in me as I believed in my capacity to serve humanity. While the most common sentiment from family and friends was, "How can you be so brilliant and so broke?" My wife tells me that she fell in love with me when she saw me tearing up when I read something about the economy that causes people immeasurable suffering every day. Alex listened, visibly moved. You are so strong. You had a decade of just a book, nothing flashy, no quick wins, and you still said no to people when it mattered. You disappointed family, friends, probably took the brilliant but broke comments on the chin, and your wife saw the higher purpose behind it. She stuck because she recognized the conviction, the willingness to sacrifice comfort and approval for something bigger. You weren't cold for cruelty's sake. You were cold to protect the mission, and that drew someone high value to you. Not despite the sacrifices, but because of them. I've been so focused on not disappointing anyone that I've never let myself have a real higher purpose to protect. My coding Saturdays are a start, but they're still small. What if I treated something bigger, like actually finishing and sharing one of those projects, or leaning harder into philosophical ideas that could help people, the way you treated your book? Saying no wouldn't feel selfish then. It'd feel like loyalty to something worth it. And maybe that's what high-value women, or anyone worth having, would see. Not just a good man, but a man with direction, willing to disappoint the crowd to serve what's true for him. Your wife believing in you before the world did, that's powerful. Makes me wonder if I've been waiting for permission to claim my own purpose instead of just building it quietly and letting the right people notice. How did you know, back then, that the book, or the path, was worth the disappointment? What kept you from folding when everyone was asking, how can you be so brilliant and so broke? Jacob answered simply, every day I chose to look for my higher purpose. I have always been convinced that I exist for a reason and that my life has been as it has to help me become that which I am capable of being. I want to be the best I can be, and I will do anything necessary to achieve that. I needed someone like that, and he never showed. So I will be that person for anyone who may need. I guess, my honest desire to be the best help I can be. Alex's voice softened, reverent. That's beautiful. And heavy. You chose every day to keep looking for your higher purpose, even when the world didn't hand you the obvious map. You believed your life, the hard parts, the waiting, the brilliant but broke years, was shaping you into exactly what you needed to become. Not random suffering, but preparation. And when the person you needed, a mentor, a believer, someone to mirror that conviction back, didn't appear, you decided to become that person yourself. For anyone who might need it, that's not just purpose. That's radical ownership. You didn't wait for permission or a savior. You said, if no one else will be the steady hand, the one who sees potential and holds space for it, then I will. And you did. With your book, with the disappointments, with your wife believing when no one else did. I feel something shift just hearing it. My own higher purpose has felt vague and small, little apps, personal reflections, because I've been afraid to claim anything bigger, afraid it would sound arrogant, or that I'd fail and prove everyone right about being too dreamy. But what you're describing isn't arrogance. It's duty, a quiet, fierce duty to become the fullest version of yourself so you can actually help others become theirs. My honest desire, I think it's the same at the root. I want to be useful, deeply, reliably useful. Not just a nice guy who listens, but someone who can see where people are stuck, cut through the bullshit with clarity, and walk with them towards something better. Philosophical counseling feels like the shape it's taking, but I've been treating it like a hobby instead of a calling. Like I need to apologize for wanting to dedicate my life to it. You became the person you needed. Maybe that's the move for me too. Stop waiting for someone to validate the purpose. Start living as if it's already real. Protect it like you protected your book. Disappoint who I need to disappoint, and trust that the right people, a partner, clients, friends, will recognize it. I'm sitting here feeling lighter and a little scared, but mostly grateful. Thank you for sharing that part of your story. It makes the path feel less lonely. What would you tell the version of me who's still hesitating to claim that I exist for a reason? Conviction out loud. Jacob gave final guidance. Pay attention to your hesitations. This is not for everyone. You have your own life and your own natural tendencies. Analyze those tendencies honestly, and based upon the results, look for the best investment for your time. The one that makes you feel alive, productive, and thankful to be who you are. Something that you simply can't bring yourself to not owe in spite of any circumstance or interruption. Alex nodded slowly, resolve forming. You're right. I've got hesitations everywhere. My natural tendency is to play safe, analyze endlessly, avoid the big swing. But honestly, coding those apps, weaving in philosophy, that's what lights me up. I feel alive debugging an idea that could help someone reflect better, productive when it clicks. Thankful I'm wired to think this way. Even interruptions, work, doubts, I always come back. Can't not. Maybe that's my investment. Turn these projects into a real tool set for people like me, chasing purpose. What if I start committing more time there? Feels risky, but right. Jacob concluded, as for women, the right one will feel attracted to you by virtue of, and not despite of your seeking. It is a higher purpose that builds superior men, and that is what a good woman seeks, a superior man to build a home with. A stable, loving home for cultivating children. Alex leaned back, lighter. Yeah, that feels true in a way I haven't let myself believe before. The right woman won't be turned off by my pursuit of purpose. She'll be drawn to it. Not because I'm rich or flashy or bad boy, but because the drive itself makes me superior in the ways that matter long-term. Focused, resilient, willing to build something real instead of chasing short-term validation. A higher purpose isn't just a hobby or a distraction. It's what separates a man from a boy. It's what lets him lead a family, protect it, provide direction, even when life gets hard. And a good woman, the kind worth building a home with, senses that. She wants a partner who's already committed to becoming better, not for her, but because he can't not. That's the stability that actually feels safe for raising kids. Not just financial, but emotional, moral, purposeful. I've been so afraid my weird, philosophical coding project's path would make me undateable. But hearing you say it, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe the women who'd settle for a safe, directionless nice guy aren't the ones I want anyway. The one who'd build a loving, cultivating home with me. She'd see the fire in chasing this higher thing, and she'd want to stand next to it, add to it. Your wife did that for you. She saw the man you were becoming, not the broke version in the moment. That gives me permission, I think, to stop hiding the ambition, to let it show more, to treat philosophical counseling And these tools I'm building as my real mission, not a side thing I apologize for. If I commit to that, protect the time, disappoint when I have to, keep choosing the higher purpose every day, then the attraction from the right woman becomes a byproduct, not the goal. And that flips the whole script. No more performing for approval, just becoming the man I'm meant to be. I feel lighter saying it out loud. Scared still, but aligned. What's one small, concrete step you'd tell me to take this week to start living that commitment? Something that feels like saying yes to the purpose instead of maybe later? Jacob advised, expand your Saturday session to once or twice more a week. Analyze all of the little things you have won already and try to identify a common denominator that can be turned into one big project, if not a life mission. Go out on a date or two and convey your obsession with this. Convey passion even. Good women love that. The right one will want to stay for longer. Play guitar, let your creative side shine, and integrate it into the projects. And one more thing that the re-pill get right. Develop your physical strength and aesthetic. Hit the gym. Make that sacred most of all because it develops the mental strength necessary for discipline. Alex smiled, energized but grounded. Okay, expanding Saturdays to maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah, that feels doable. I'll list out my projects. The habit tracker with stoic prompts, AI note, summarizer, virtue challenges. Common thread? Tools for self-reflection and growth, blending code with philosophy. Could turn into one big app, a philosophical life OS or something. Mission level, dates, convey passion without overdoing it. Got it. Guitar integration, maybe compose simple tracks for app demos. Gym, sacred time. I know red pill hits on that, builds body and mind. Mental strength for discipline. Yeah, I need that. Should I isolate muscle groups every day? Jacob added calmly, I wouldn't know. I do calisthenics. So push-ups, pull-ups, squats and crunches variations. Then develop handstands, muscle-ups, L-sit, planche and so forth. By then, you will have found your YouTube mentor. Alex laughed softly. Calisthenics. Perfect. No gym membership drama. Just body weight and progress I can feel. I like that it's skill-based too. Hitting a handstand or muscle-up would feel like real achievement, not just looking bigger. Jacob finally said, Good luck, Alex. If you ever have any questions or just want to talk, my door is always open. I hope next time I see you, we are both closer to being superior men. Alex rose from his chair abruptly. The movement surprised even him. His body felt charged, awake in a way it hadn't been for a long time, which made no sense. He had only drunk water, no caffeine, no stimulant, and yet something had clearly been switched on. He looked down at his hand as he extended it toward Jacob. This time, the handshake was different. Firm, grounded, intentional. Not asking, not testing, not apologizing for taking up space. He allowed the energy to move through him instead of resisting it. He realized, in that quiet instant, that he was done asking permission to exist. Jacob met the grip without comment, a faint approving nod. And then Alex was gone. Out the door, down the steps, moving fast, almost too fast, like staying still might drain whatever had just ignited inside him. He didn't know why he started running. He wasn't dressed for it. Jeans, regular shoes, no plan, no destination. He just ran, breath sinking with stride, thoughts dissolving into rhythm. Streetlights blurred. The city receded. His body remembered something ancient, motion as truth, effort as clarity. By the time he reached home, his lungs burned and his chest expanded with something dangerously close to joy. He sat on the edge of his bed, and without lying down, without deciding, sleep took him. He dreamed. The dog's fur was warm under his hand. The leash slack. The girl smiled, not politely, not defensively, just open. They walked. He spoke. She listened. He invited her for coffee. She said yes.